probably too loud. So I'll get you down a bit. Okie dokie. It says we're live, and Alex is back. Hello.
Hi, how's
It's
it
good
going?
It's all good here. I'm more worried about you.
Yes, indeed. I was very worried about myself too. Um, I've totally changed my mind about the vaccine. I think Jacinda Ardern is correct. Everyone should be vaccinated every 2 weeks for the rest of their lives,
Don't
or
get
they
my
have no
channel
right
banned,
to live in.
please.
Say again?
Don't get my channel banned, please.
No, no, no. Your channel won't be banned. Supporting Jacinda Ardern will boost the algorithm. You'll get loads of subscribers.
Awesome.
Let's get the normies on board.
Yeah, let's get the normies on board. So, what do you call a fat psychic?
What?
A fortune teller.
I don't get it.
A
What am I
fortune
missing?
teller.
Oh, a fortune teller. Okay,
Yes.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, really funny.
I know. Or not.
Oh, I'd forgotten about the joke bit. Oh Christ.
You're always full of them.
I know. I'm sorry. So useless. Fuck. Okay. Have I told? Have I told the one? How do you pull a fat bird?
I really can't remember.
Okay. Yeah, it's an old joke. How do you pull a fat bird? Piece of cake.
Excellent. You may or may not have. My brain is like, yeah, that was bad. Let's forget about that forever.
Yeah. Fattest and misogynistic joke there.
Yeah.
So any woke people watching,
I guess we shall
hope
see.
that one was for you. Kiss my ass. No. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it. I haven't seen you for a very long time, it feels like, and I'm trying. Last time we actually went through when you had your eating thing going on, and you were going to. You had some homework. Do you remember what it was?
Honestly, I don't, because the day after is when I started getting really sick.
Yeah.
So I spent 2 weeks with really bad symptoms, and then I had some scarring in my lungs. So even after I tested negative, I was just coughing, coughing, coughing. So yeah, forgive me.
I'll
I
forgive you.
can't remember. Sorry.
That's okay. Right. So what I wrote down was that you think that you will wake up tomorrow after having eaten whatever you ate and want other foods for breakfast. And did that happen, or were you feeling ill or sick already that morning?
Well, no, I didn't. I didn't have any breakfast the following morning because I had to wake up early and drive to Cheltenham to set up a market for the following day. So typically when I work early in the morning, food isn't really on my mind. The first thing I consume tends to be 1 or 2 hours after I've set up for a market. And typically it's like yogurt or milk or coffee, something like that.
Yeah. So you didn't actually have any specific cravings or food thoughts the day after that you had all of that chocolatey thing?
No,
No.
no, I didn't.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And the other thing was humiliation. You were going to practice feeling it whenever it was going to come up.
Well, I had a lot of practice feeling depressed, having macabre, dour thoughts about existence. But that always happens to me when I get a virus. my dopamine and serotonin just plummets.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, just honestly, like COVID, having COVID has just consumed the last 2 weeks. Well, the the 2 weeks previous to last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it just all I can say about the virus is that, or my experience of it was just it's very stubborn and very persistent. The discipline of not eating anything, especially carbs, just drinking lots of water and staying glued to my bed constantly. Um, there's no there's no payoff, or there wasn't any payoff. Typically, with various manifestations of SARS, which I've had over the years, being disciplined, being a good boy and not consuming sugar or alcohol or cigarettes, and just sleep, sleep, sleep. You start to feel incrementally the symptoms abating, and there's a sort of incremental delivery of hope. Like, oh, you're a little bit better today. Keep
Mm.
going. Stay in bed. Be disciplined. Don't go out. Don't even go for a walk. Don't make the mistake of being active. That's exactly what the virus wants you to do. Uh, and just every day you'll be rewarded with a little bit more relief. But COVID was weird. It brought me all of these symptoms which were constant: headache, stiffness, a kind of a viral feeling of being poisoned and or under attack, and just basically feeling arthritic all the time, and having a sort of a constant numb headache behind my eyes, and then the coughing began. But yeah, it did not get better at all until after 12 days. So it was literally like really, really bad, constant, like, um, yeah, there was no fluctuating of symptoms. There was no
Okay.
part of the day during which time I felt, during which I felt better. So yeah, it's just 12 days of unmitigating suffering. And
So how
that,
were you handling
yeah,
them? Were you actually actively feeling it and, trying to practice, or what happened?
oh, I mean, I didn't really have a choice. I mean, certainly after 6 days and not getting any better, um, I did begin to feel. So I did begin to feel demoralized, and my thoughts were moving. Yeah, they were moving to that place where I'm dissecting my existence and overanalyzing and over contemplating my failures. I mean, I think on like day 7 or 8, I called my friend Emily and I was like crying on the phone, just in despair, talking about how I didn't have anything. I hadn't done anything with my life. I hadn't made anything or kind of, made anything of myself. And I felt, like a failure. And we spoke for quite a while about that. So yeah, the virus, it did, yeah, it just totally depleted my um, reward, feel good hormones. So I just, for the second half of my convalescence, I couldn't maintain any kind of positivity. But I think that was also because I just wasn't getting better. So I started feeling, I started, I started to believe after about day 10, day 11, that the virus was affecting me this much because of how unhealthy I am, because of my weight and problems with sugar and so on. I was thinking, oh dear, is this am I not recovering after 2 or 3 days like a lot of people do, because I'm unhealthy in a general sense. So yeah, the depression made me very self-critical, self-deprecating, and the length of how unwell I was uh, made me, yeah, just worried about my health and a bit and anxious about my health. Um,
So what are you
yeah.
thinking about it right now?
Well, my health.
Or what happened and your condition that you were in, what you want to do, everything. What's going on?
Well, well. Firstly, I'm very grateful that it's over. Um, the last week has been weird. There's lots of coughing and almost total destruction of my appetite. I've been eating, but only with the intellectual knowledge that I need to eat, but not with that visceral hunger. There's been no slaking of the thirst, so I haven't eaten with any satisfaction for the last week. It's been very, very strange eating. Like at the moment I put the first morsel of food in my mouth, it's normally about 2 or 3 o'clock, because I try to wait as long as possible for my hunger to surface even a little bit. And as I'm taking that first bite of food, it feels very much the same way one feels when eating after having had pretty severe food poisoning for a week or so. Just a constant feeling of fragility, sensitivity, and tenderness in the stomach. Like, oh, don't put anything in me. Don't put anything in me.
Is that still
So
going
there's been
on?
this. It today actually was the first day on which that those symptoms, that problem seemed to be dissipating. So I had a hearty meal this evening, and felt that satisfaction that I hadn't felt for a while. But yeah, it's been weird. There was a gastric component to COVID as well. It gave me diarrhea on the only 2 occasions I tried to eat some meat. It was immediately liquefied and then came out like with a
Sounds
lot
lovely.
yeah. Well, anecdotally, with these new strains, these new like subvariants of Omicron, a lot of people have been reporting gastric or intestinal disturbances
Okay.
while having the virus.
But what I want to
So
know is actually where you are in your head. Where's your mind at? How do you feel about all that has been happening? Where are you at right now?
fine, yeah.
Hi.
I mean, all of the progress that I was making before is now resuming. Taking better care of myself, my flat, working again, earning money again. I've lost quite a bit of weight, lost over 10 pounds. I'm down at like 284 now, for which I'm very grateful. So I was able to put on a few t-shirts, which I hadn't been able to, a fortnight ago. That was gratifying. And yeah, I feel very positive about going plant free and just continuing to eat my delicious diet of meat and milk and cheese and yeah, just
Okay, that sounds good.
as for like picking up from where we left off, talking about humiliation. I think I mean, trying to recall the essence of the homework and why it's important. I can still see the value in it, in allowing myself to feel those feelings and not eat on them, or not try to ignore them or squash them down.
You did tell me something though, when off camera, when the first week when you were still sick and we were talking off camera, there was some wine involved there.
Not at all a transgression born out of compulsiveness or craving.
Okay, so tell us all about it. What happened?
Well, I actually attribute my having succumbed to COVID to the fact that I drank alcohol for 2 consecutive evenings. About 3 or 4 times a year, my company sends me to wine events to ply our charcuterie wares, and it is very difficult to say no to unlimited free glasses of really nice wine. And I think obviously we need to talk about the allure and the power and the leverage that that's something being free has on one's will and one's decision making, because the months leading up to the wine event, I wasn't drinking wine. I didn't have the volition at any point to buy a bottle of wine and have it with my steak. So I'm asking myself, why did I drink so many glasses of wine on that Monday and Tuesday? And the only explanation I have is because it was free. And I'm going around giving charcuterie to all of these different wine producers, and they say thank you, and then they say, would you like a glass of this, glass of that? And I just very carelessly and thoughtlessly said yeah. And I think, and this is not a justification, I'm just saying I've never had a problem with alcohol, and I've never even been much of a drinker at all. I think I drink alcohol maybe 9 or 10 times a year. Never get inebriated to the point of being poisoned or vomiting or being out of control. And typically I just have a bottle of wine or two with a meal with friends, and that's it. So yeah, I don't identify alcohol as one of the causes of my poor health. It's not responsible for my obesity, my kidney stones, my silent reflux. It's not responsible for my depression, my anxiety. It's hardly played a role in my life at all. So I think my guard was down.
Said that you're not going to drink alcohol. That was not part of your plan, was it?
Alcohol's a funny one. I've spent 100 times more time and energy on the subject of sugar and carbs than I have alcohol. I guess because I can take booze or leave it, I haven't really. It does, the threat that it poses just doesn't have the same gravitas as sugar does. Mm-hmm. So yeah, in that moment, I just said, yeah, why not? Free booze.
Yeah. So how long had you been knowing about this event?
A week. I'm told where I'm going to go a week in advance.
Okay. And did you have any thoughts about what you were going to do when you got there? Like, yeah, I'm going to drink some wine, or no, I'm not going to drink wine, or did you just not think about it at all?
I didn't really think about it. I didn't think about it. I didn't think about it.
Is that because you didn't perceive it as an issue at all, or because you forgot that there's wine, or why didn't you think about it?
Well, because like I said, because alcohol doesn't. I don't have any associations at all in my mind between alcohol and relapsing with carbohydrate and sugar. Like, I know for some people who have broader problems with addiction, if they've had a drug problem, they won't have alcohol because they see it as like
Yeah,
as
I
a kind
get
of a
that.
point of entry. Yeah,
I'm just wondering why
but
you
not for
didn't
me.
think about it beforehand. Like, was there an active act of not thinking about what was going to happen, or just, you genuinely have no clue, or sort
Well,
of like, well,
because
it's not a
well,
problem,
I think
so it doesn't matter.
I think because I think it honestly, I'm not saying that this is right, and I'm not standing behind this position. Like I'm not saying this as a position behind which I shall stand and prop up. I'm just being honest because I don't really give a fuck. I don't care. Like
What is it
in
that you
in the
don't care about?
I don't care, and I'm not. Well, when I say I don't care, what I mean is I'm not concerned at all or afraid that drinking alcohol will, for one night or two nights in modest proportions, it like it doesn't. It's not going to affect my carnivore journey.
Hmm.
Like it's not. It's not going to derail me. It's just. It's not. Like
Okay,
as I'm
I really
drinking.
want to suss this out, because previously you said, I'm not going to drink alcohol. That's not part of what
Well,
I'm going
that's
to be
what
doing.
I mean. That yeah. When I go down when I go down the route of when I go down the route intellectually of trying to engineer an idea for a far healthier version of me, it is very, very easy to say I'm not going to drink, precisely because I don't have anything emotional attached to drinking. Like, you know, I used to, maybe like 10 years ago, food and wine pairing was a big deal, but I don't really do that anymore. I don't really give a shit. There's only one day out of the year really where I care about opening lots of wine with food, and that's my birthday. And on occasion, I have found myself saying that I was just gonna, just literally drink maybe once a year on my birthday, just as a treat. It's just, it's not a problem. It's not a threat. It literally doesn't have any power at all in the same way
Yeah,
that
I get
sugar
that.
and carbohydrates does. Like
But
there are never any voices calling to me
no,
when I
it's not about
feel
that.
down. Yeah.
This is not what I'm trying to suss out. So you have told yourself, like, I'm just going to drink once a year on my birthday. If you had thought about what was going to happen at this event, let's say that you had done that, what would you have chosen to do?
I quite possibly I could easily have chosen to drink. I could on just being honest.
Yeah,
I think
it's fine.
it just depends on my mood. Like if I was in the mood to continue feeling to continue to enjoy maximally the benefits of carnivore without interrupting it for a day or two with the feelings of toxicity and recovery that follow drinking or the eating of a pizza or whatever. If I'd been in the mood for that, then I would have said, oh, just going to drink my milk and say no thank you to 50 different fucking people uh 2 days in a row. But I guess I wasn't in the mood for that. I just didn't care. I
No,
just
I'm wanting you to think about the scenario if you had made a decision beforehand. Because that's what we're talking about a lot. It's like it's okay for you to have something if you make that decision at least 24 hours ahead of time.
Yeah, I know.
So literally what you're telling me is that depending on my mood, I could have chosen either way. And that is a really dangerous way of being. That's like being in the gray zone, because then you're not going to make a decision. And one of the things that you told me earlier, that you want to be decisive. And then you go to this event and you know that every time you have an argument with your primitive part of the brain, the primitive part of the brain is going to take over and it's going to win. So of course you were going to drink wine because you hadn't made a decision beforehand. And what the decision would have been, that would have been completely up to you. It doesn't really matter at all. It's just about training your prefrontal cortex, making the decision and sticking with it. Whether that means drinking wine or not drinking wine is kind of irrelevant. It's like practicing the cravings, you're practicing the planning.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Checkmate. You know, I concede. I concede victory to you. I'm defeated.
Not to me.
You're absolutely right.
It's just another way for your brain to do the same thing. It's going to try that with everything in your life.
I get
like
it.
You say, well,
I get it.
wine is not a problem. I'm going to do it.
I agree. I know. I forget.
Yeah.
I forget. Look, weight loss and sticking to carnivore, I give it far too much importance. I give it far too much. I give it far too much kind of real estate in my mind. I give it too much living space and operating power, and I forget frequently that that what we're trying to do here is not just get me on carnivore and to stick to carnivore, but to master my own will by training my brain through repeated action to be in control, so that more and more and more decisions in my life are made in advance, or they are made with the part of the brain which doesn't succumb, as you say, to the primitive part. And every time I do something which is addicting or deleterious to my body, and I just do it compulsively in the moment, spontaneously, I am continuing to carve out a groove in my mind, and that groove is the constant deferring to the primitive part of the brain. And it fuels it, and it powers it and strengthens it. I get it. I forgot. I always forget that that control is more important than what I can spontaneously achieve day by day, based on circumstances or mood or what my will permits or doesn't permit on any given day. And I forget.
It's okay to forget.
It's arrogance, really. The reality is that, like, last year
that's how we operate as humans, because we don't want to necessarily spend a lot of time using our prefrontal cortex, because that requires a lot of energy. So whenever you are told yourself, well, alcohol is not a problem, delegate to the primal part of the brain. I don't need to deal with that. And now we're just saying that, okay, that didn't really work. So we're bringing it up to the surface. Now you're aware of it. So the next time you're going to know okay, there's going to be alcohol involved. What do I want to do? It's not really arrogance. It's just human nature.
No, I meant I was just on the verge of saying that it was arrogant. I was a victim of my own arrogance Christmas of last year, because from August to December, from August to late December last year, I did the strictest and most consistent period of carnivore I've ever done. And in that time, I lost like about 40 pounds. And I was looking really good. Things are going well. And I was feeling really great as well. I was just doing carnivore with milk for those months. And I everything fell apart over Christmas with all of the pressure. And I realize now that because I just arrogantly assumed that I achieved 4 months of carnivore, because I had, mastered my will and my mind, when in reality, I guess I was being driven by some sort of, I think I was being driven by something emotional for those 4 months. And then when Christmas came around, people started offering me cake and tarts and pudding and chocolate. And the arrogance was, oh, well, I'm in control, so I'll have this, I'll eat this, and then I'll get back to being in control again in January. But there was no plan. I didn't say to myself, on Christmas Day, I will allow myself to have some Christmas pudding and a few chocolates. I told myself that I spent all day on Christmas Day refusing mince pies and glasses of champagne, much to the irritation of my stepfather, who kept on saying, "Who drinks milk on Christmas Day?" What a twat.
Alex does.
So there was a lot of pressure from my stepdad. He kept on fucking asking me like 4 or 5 times why I wasn't having champagne with them. And then I had Christmas dinner. I had like a carnivore version. I just had the meat and the protein stuff that my mum made. And then all of a sudden, I see my niece eating some milk chocolate or something. And and that primitive thing, and I was just like, give me some of that. And then it just spiraled. And then it was the 26th, the 27th, then it was New Year's Eve. I was saying to all of my friends on New Year's Eve, just after we did DMT, January 1st tomorrow, I'm a changed man. I've just spoken to the aliens of my subconscious. They've told me everything's going to be fine. But it's bollocks. It's just chaos, no control, no plan, no boundaries, no serious, mature arrangements with the various parts of my brain or my mind. I gave way to spontaneity and compulsiveness, and then before I know it, it's March. It's my birthday, and I've put all of the weight back on which I had lost from August to December. And yeah, that's when, sort of end of February, early March, just before my 36th birthday, I began to feel so low about myself, so disappointed in myself. And I can see now that there is no value whatsoever in losing a load of weight over a 4-month period by using the method that I was using. And the method, or the motivator, or the tool, the fuel, whatever you want to call it, that I was utilizing, was just grief and trauma from having lost my dad and my girlfriend in the same month. It just left this kind of pain, grief in my chest, which I was able to utilize. I was able to like transmutate it into a will to stick to carnivore and to lose weight. But that's not a sustainable system for control. What you're trying to coach me to learn is the solution. It's how it's done. It's what is going to put me in good stead for the rest of my life. But yeah, so I'm back, back at square one again. That's okay.
There is no
I'm ready
square
to. There's no square one. Okay. Yeah. No. Fair enough. Well, I'm ready to. I'm ready to break old patterns of behavior now, and create new ones.
But you're doing
which
it.
are. Yeah. Yeah. I don't mean I'm ready today. I just.
Yeah.
I mean, I have.
You
I'm
you have made
starting to be
massive
ready.
massive progress. Like whatever happened with the alcohol is just your brain kicking back, trying to grab onto straws, using something to get you back into a behavior that feels comfortable for your brain.
Yeah.
I've told this story before, but even after I stopped eating sugar, all of a sudden I found myself needing to have salami every evening. Like salami is a good food, but it's the behavior of like, okay, I need that salami, otherwise I'm uncomfortable. So it's just the same behavior with a food that my brain thinks that there's nothing wrong with eating salami. And I just had to stop eating the salami, deal with that, and then go back to eating salami under normal circumstances. I don't have a problem with salami anymore. I can eat salami now. I can have it in the fridge for weeks and not wanting it, and then I might want it every day for 5 days, and then I'm done with it. It's just like with other foods. I have a
Mm.
normal relationship with salami now. But it will just kind of keep doing that with all sorts of things. So it's just like being aware of it and pick up on when it's happening. So the only problem I see with what happened is like you didn't know that it was going to happen. It happened. You didn't realize that it happened. You're like, well, it was just alcohol was not a problem. But now I pointed it out, and you're like, oh yes, okay, I see what you're saying. So where do you want to go from there? Like, what's going to happen the next time? What do you perceive are the problems to, or potential problems to be? So can you catch them before they actually appear? Some of them you might be able to.
I think it's about being clear about what my boundaries are. I was
Hmm.
far more clear and serious in my own mind about the boundary between me and sugar.
Yeah.
And by boundary, just to be clear, I mean a set of considerations and thoughts and reflections that occur when I am in the vicinity of sugar, either physically or um, you know, or either I'm in the vicinity of sugar, or it's in my awareness through conversation.
Yeah.
And I didn't really make alcohol a serious part of that boundary. And I think that's because I just, like I said, I didn't see it as a threat. I don't experience any distress or regret when I consider not drinking. There's not much socially that I
Yeah.
lose in my
But let me
life
stop you
by.
there, because
Yeah.
the thing is not, it has absolutely nothing to do with how you think that is affecting you. The only thing it has, and the only way that I see it as significant is that you told us earlier that I'm not going to be drinking alcohol. So you've said that, but then you have still kept the alcohol sort of in, well, it doesn't really matter. I don't need to pay attention to it. So all I want you to do is just make a conscious decision about how you want to be handling alcohol and then sticking with it. So if you say, okay, I'm going to drink once a year and that's going to be on my birthday, then stick with it. Or you can just say, okay, this is how I'm going to handle alcohol. I'm not going to drink on a normal basis. Once a year on my birthday, I'm going to make the decision to drink or not, which is fine. Both of them are fine. And I know that my employer is going to send me off to these events twice a year. And when that happens, I'm free to choose, but I just have to decide ahead of time before I go there. Or I'm just going to be the Alex that I want to be. I'm not going to drink when I go there. Like, whatever you want to decide.
I guess I haven't really thought alcohol through. Not really.
Well, we have some homework for next week then. Unless you want to do it now.
Not, like if I ever get a metabolic disease, it's not going to be because of my alcohol consumption.
Yeah, but now you're going to that place again. Like, well, the alcohol is
No,
not
no,
so
I'm
bad.
not. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm just being honest. I'm trying to
Yeah, but do
think
you want
back.
alcohol in your life or do you not want it in your life? Make a decision.
I think I want it in my life.
Okay, good. How much? How often?
I don't know because I only have to consider how much and how often with behaviors that are compulsive and have had an effect on me. So it's difficult for me to think about how much and how often because it's not a there's never there can be a compulsion to do anything.
Yep.
It's not that I had when I had the compulsion to drink at that event, I didn't have that compulsion against a backdrop of pre-existing tension. But
Yeah.
anything to do with carbs, there is that tension there. There's that guilt. There's that shame. As I was drinking, I wasn't even thinking, oh, you've done something wrong. You've broken the rules. You've ruined everything. Like now that you've had 4 or 5 glasses of wine, now it's all down the tubes. You're going to go and buy French fries and cake. And no, I went home and I had a fillet steak. It didn't throw me off course. It never does. It's just the reason why I put alcohol into the picture of the person I wanted to create was because I was being puritanical and excessive, and that it's an overcompensation to account for how unhappy I am with my general health, and it's also because my sugar addiction has caused hyperacidity and reflux. Not alcohol, but sometimes when I drink alcohol, it really exacerbates my reflux symptoms. And I think around about the time of my birth, I remember like back in March, I had a few drinks and I came home after having a few drinks and like I was panting for air because my reflux was so bad that it was causing me breathing problems, which it can sometimes do. So I think back in March, I had a health scare. If you remember, I told you I had like stroke-like symptoms where my head was really fuzzy and I couldn't feel my left arm. And that was, that was just after my birthday when I'd opened like 10 bottles of wine or something with friends. And so I think I perceived alcohol as a threat back in the spring because I was, having some real bad health problems. But you know why I was having the health problems? Because in January and February, I was eating like an absolute fiend and addict. Like I was.
But Alex, I
I
want to
was
know what you
back.
want to do with it now, from your where you are now. I want you to make a decision based on what you want to do right now.
Alcohol's not a problem. I lumped it in with sugar, and that was stupid because all I'm doing is I'm cutting off access to something which I'm never going to have a problem with. I don't have the genetic predisposition to it.
Okay.
And every now and then, it would absolutely enrich my life to open a really nice bottle of French red wine with some roast lamb.
Okay.
And honestly, most of the time, I don't think about booze. I don't really give a fuck about booze, and it's not a threat. And I think I should rescind my denunciation of it, because it was silly. It's not responsible for any of my problems. And when I enjoy it, which is quite rarely, it's nice. And it doesn't seem to have much of a.
So when you enjoy it, how do you want to enjoy it?
The same way I always enjoy it. Never alone. Never ever alone. Under any circumstances do I drink. I find that to be a depressing and tragic image. It's social. It's about bringing people together to enjoy food. It's 90% of the time it's when I invite friends over. I cook, steak and potatoes for everyone, and I open a bottle of Malbec or something. It's about hedonism, enjoyment. It's not a problem. Never has been.
And what about when you go on these events?
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, the main reason I don't want to drink at one of these wine events ever again is because I don't want to be inebriated in a room with 1,000 people ever again. Because I think, as I said, that's why I succumbed to COVID, because I know that when you're inebriated, your immune system is highly compromised. And I had spent the previous 4 years leading up to that wine event in almost impervious to viruses, and I didn't see that as a coincidence at all. It was in 2018, right, that I discovered the carnivore diet, and since 2018, in spite of continuing to have problems with eating, I've drastically increased my consumption of ruminant flesh, raw dairy, organs, cod liver, all this good shit. And yeah, I was getting, before I started eating a lot of meat 4 years ago, I was getting ill 3 or 4 times a year with viruses. And since 2018, they weren't able to touch me. And I went
Okay,
through
hang
the
on,
entire.
hang on. I just want to know, how do you want to handle this at the indoor events? That's all I want to know. I don't need to know why. It's not important right now.
I'm not going to drink at the events.
Ever?
Okay. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm conflicted. Some part of me wants to, and some part of me never wants to again.
So could you just decide that whenever an event is coming up, you're going to make a decision beforehand, for example?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So you don't want to drink alone. You only want to drink when you're socializing with people and when you have people over for dinner. If there's an event, you will always decide at least a day before how you want to handle it. You want to drink on your birthday?
On Christmas as well.
How do you feel about all this?
I feel that there could be certain risks involved because it's a new paradigm. Alcohol plus no carbs, or no plants, no starches or sugars. So it's likely then that contexts in which I'm drinking alcohol are also going to be contexts in which I choose to transgress against the carnivore diet. Like I can see that happening as a potential threat, that one would lead to the other. But then
You also told me, like, not long ago, that alcohol is not really a problem and making you eat sugar, or something along those lines.
no, not a problem in producing the compulsion, but a problem in creating the idea to choose to have carbohydrates with it.
Only if you are actually making a decision in the moment.
Well, this is, well, I mean, we're getting like, whenever we have this conversation, I feel so uncomfortable, and it's because, and there's this tremendous tension in me, and it's because, and I'm just trying to be honest. I'm not defending this position. It's just my programming. I'm still being so fucking absolute about the carnivore diet, and I'm forgetting that that's not really the important thing. The important thing is not subscribing to some self-made religion where my body has to be pure all of the time. I found carnivore not because I wanted purity, but because I wanted relief. I wanted to escape the 20-year-long hell of addiction.
Hmm.
I don't want to create. I don't want to be pure. I just don't want to be a fucking sugar addict anymore. And I want to be more healthy than unhealthy. And I know that eating meat is what makes the body healthy. And I know that eating plants, and especially refined plants and their derivatives, is what causes momentary inflammation from which the body has to recover. But I don't have any control over that. And I've been in this absolute mindset of like all or nothing. But it's not really what I want. What I want is control. And I think I backed myself into a corner here with these conversations with you. And I've talked about, wanting to be a carnivore, have a carnivore YouTube channel. I don't want to be like Paul Saladino. I don't even want to be like Bart and constantly inculcating into the minds of viewers that plants are contraindicated. I just want some fucking control back in my life, and that I just want to be normal. I've wanted to be like most people who are not addicts, who are not
So let me ask you
sugar addicts.
this. If you were in control, how would you handle this then?
The more like things are starting to come into balance, things are starting to come into perspective now, and I'm starting to see that most people, even though they've got it wrong, most people have their own system of what they call balance to be healthy. And even though I disagree with the protocol and the routines that they adhere to, to be healthy, like say 80% of the time, and transgress 20% of the time, they still manage to pull it off. And really, honestly, Pim, what I want is to be in control, so that something like 80% of the time I'm having beef and lamb and water and salt, and uh, and but I allow pleasurable hedonistic um, foods and experiences and drinks into my life because I love them. I do. I want them. I I've tried with Puritanism to denounce them, to try and prove something to myself, to you, to your audience. But the fact is that I love wine. I love culinaria. I want I want to sit down on my birthday with my friends and eat panna cotta. But I know I but I also know that it's harmful. So I guess unless I'm deluding myself, unless there is no balance and that's just a fallacy, unless it's a total fallacy, I want to be able to be in control so that I choose most of the time to be healthy and to eat in a responsible way, but then I also choose when and where to transgress. And
I
I'm
love
very
that.
grateful. I don't want to be a fucking carnivore. I don't want to be a pure. I don't want to do the pure carnivore thing. I don't. But I'm a rational man, and I've spent 4 years learning as much as I can on all of your collective channels, right? From you to Bart to even Saladino, Tufano, Ken Berry, Ivor Cummins, everyone. I've learned as much as I can. And I thought that my destiny was to take that knowledge and to become part of the tribe and to just eat fat and protein, but I don't want it. I don't. I just want to be in control. It was sugar addiction and the misery and hell it inflicted upon me that brought me to you all. But I don't want to be a Puritan.
And
I
that's fine.
like
I would like to explore that more next week, but what I want you to do until next week is that I want you to have a look at and a good think about what it would be like what it would look like to allow those hedonistic foods into your life every now and then. Like, how often would that be? How much would you eat? Are there any foods that are totally off limits? Are they associated with how you react? As like for me, I have a mental list of foods that I can eat whenever I want. And blueberries is on that list, for example. But if I ever notice that the blueberries are becoming a problem and that I kind of crave the blueberries every day, then I just stop doing that for a while.
mm-mm,
And then I start eating them again. And it's usually not a problem. But I know that even blueberries sometimes they don't create like massive cravings, but as soon as I notice that there are cravings, I'm just picking up on that and like, okay, I'm not going to do that. And that is a decision that I made. So just kind of have a think about how you would want to handle all of that, because cravings are cravings, and there you have that neural pathway in your brain. So even though you can create new neural pathways to be more automatic and be your automatic response, that neural pathway is always going to be there, and your primitive part of the brain is always going to come back and try to do something with that. So for me now, the only time I might have fairly strong cravings might be if I am severely sleep deprived or right before my period. Like, and then I know that that's going to happen. And at those times, how I'm handling that now is not, sometimes I choose to sit with the craving, but I pretty much learned that they're not going to go away. So I'm just like, okay, I don't have time for this. And I know that it's going to be gone tomorrow. I know that it's nothing ongoing. And I actually use willpower, if you like. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to deal with you. I'm just going to go on with my day and do whatever I need to do because I know that they're going to go away. I'm not scared of them coming back. So I have my way of dealing with everything that comes up. And that's something that you will learn with time. but I want you to kind of have a little think about how you would like to navigate your whole life around this, and how often, how much you're going to allow, and what the rules are. So if you
I
do that for
think,
next week,
yeah,
not now, we don't have time. So just write
yeah,
it all down and let us all know, and then I want to explore what you said, like why you don't want to be a pure carnivore a little bit more, because I would just want to make sure that there's nothing else underlying there, and then have a look at, how we can work out how you want your life to be, basically. Is that good?
okay,
Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much. And thanks for being here,
that's
all
good.
of you who are here live. We shall see you next week. No more COVIDs. Yay. See ya.